What's up, guys? I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another YouTube video. This is exercise 17 in our Python exercise tutorial series. Without any further ado, let's get to it. So, guys, one thing I'd like to mention to you before we start, like you're going to see, right, as we move as we code this scenario, and we actually start solving it. So you're going to notice that the paragraph of text, that little paragraph of text that explains the problem and what's required to us, it is kind of long in this specific problem. One thing I'd like to tell you guys is when you are faced with, a question that has kind of a lot of paragraphs or textual information, right? It's very important that you don't get stressed and you don't basically don't confuse yourself. That's the important thing. Don't stress yourself out and don't get overworked, because in actual sense it's actually very simple. You see, the more text there is in a problem, the easier it is for us, because there's more explanations for us. And you're going to notice that, okay, so to give you a bit of insight, what we are going to be working with in this program, it's called body mass index, right? BMI. I'm sure you all are familiar with it. It's kind of like a health metric that determines height by weight or something of that sort. But the point is that there is kind of a lot of text in the paragraph that explains what to do. But you are going to see in reality actually how simple it is, because we're going to work through it together. And we'll do this step by step, and we'll understand, the logic behind the program and so on. And yeah, it's going to be fun. Every program we've been working with so far in this tutorial series has been super fun, and we are enjoying it. So this is going to be no different. Even though there's a lot of text, we will do it to the best we can. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, there we have it. Exercise 17. Write a Python program that computes the body mass index BMI of an individual. Your program should begin by reading in the height and weight from the user. Then your program should use one of the following formulas to compute the BMI before displaying it to the user. If you read the height in inches and the weight in pounds, then the body mass index is computed using the following formula. BMI is equals to weight over height multiplied by height multiplied by 703. If you read the height in meters and the weight in kilograms, then the BMI is computed using the following formula. BMI is equals to weight all over height times height. So that's height squared basically. Okay guys, so see, looking at this particular question, there seems to be a lot of text. And in some cases, we sometimes get a bit anxious, or maybe you just get a bit stressed and you may get confused, but in reality, this is not difficult. We're going to solve it step by step, right? Okay, so at face value, looking at this textual paragraphs of information, right, for the question that we are going to tackle, looking at this paragraph, we can see that number one, this program is talking about a calculation. This calculation is called BMI, body mass index. So that's the first thing. Number two is there's two sort of metrics that's used here, or two sort of prompts, two sort of input prompts: height and weight. Okay, guys. So we see that according to this text prompt, we also see that there are two ways to actually calculate BMI. Okay, in this specific scenario, they have catered for the situation or circumstance in which the user uses the metrics inches and pounds, and they've also catered for the event or scenario where a user uses meters and kilograms. So we will actually solve for both these scenarios. I want you to get the full understanding and full idea of this program. And also, again, a reminder, don't be intimidated by the textual information. Even when it comes to your, coding interview or whatever, don't be intimidated by the text. Take your time. Isolate the question into the individual, portions. Break it down for yourself to understand better. What are the major components of the question? What do they want as input? And what do they want to be processed? And what do they want as output? Three important phases in any program: input, process, output. So let's solve it first. For scenario one, that's going to be there's here. That's what it's going to be. We're going to start our first scenario by setting up a program that's going to calculate BMI using this formula here, and it's going to take height in inches and weight in pounds. So let's do that, guys. We need two input prompts, so let's do a weight. Remember, we need height and weight, right? So yeah, weight and height, same thing. So let's do a float input. So float, because I've rarely come across situations where a person weighs exactly a whole number. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and just make it a float. Float input, please enter this is weight in pounds. That's good. Moving on. Height is equals to float input, please enter the height in inches. That's good. Moving on, guys. It's time for the calculation. So remember this formula here. Let's do it. All we have to do is just substitute. They were kind enough to actually give us the formula. So substitution is up to us to do correctly. So what we can do is, it's exactly the same thing. we actually can just really copy and paste this calculation portion and paste him there. That's good. Moving on, the final part now, processing is done, calculation and computation are done here, is done there, and now it's time for the output message. They did not specify anything about decimal points, so we don't have to stress about that. If you want to be fancy though, you can go ahead by all means. And we've been doing this for quite a few exercises. Let's proceed to format the BMI according to two decimal places. I think it will make the output look a bit more readable, much more formal and professional. So let's do it. Your BMI is I'm sure you also remember, our placeholders, how we've been doing for the past few exercises. Your BMI is, and let's provide formatting for the placeholder. We're passing here BMI. That's good. That's excellent. Now, this essentially, we've done everything we could for the first scenario of height and weight in inches and pounds. So before we move to scenario 2, let's first run this, get this scenario 1 over and done with, and then we'll proceed to the second scenario of height and weight. So let's run. Let's maybe do this is weight. Yeah, let's do a 200 pounds and maybe 75 inches. And it tells me your BMI is 25. Okay, that's good. The program works. Now it's time for the second scenario. So if you are in Spider, guys, this is another cool trick that will really be helpful for you. If you are in Spider, actually proceed to any line of your choice, after the program, and enter these three characters, enter them on a line. Hash and two percentage signs, right? Consecutively. And you'll notice that it creates us like a new kind of line pops up on the top here, and it sort of divides our script, right? So that is a Spider feature for actually creating what we call cells, right? cells, cells. So it helps us to, kind of especially useful when it's time to test our program, because in the actual world, like, Python programs will be made up of several lines of code. There'll be a whole load of functions and different sort of what we call units. So the way to actually go about testing that to make sure each works is by separating our code. And separation of code does not only come from within the code or syntax of the programming language itself, it also comes from the IDEs and software that we use. That's why these softwares are so important for us. So that's that. Super helpful. All right. Hash percentage will create a cell. So essentially what this means now, you see this green arrow on the top here. If we click the green arrow, the run button, it means that all cells in the file or in the program are going to run. All cells, right? In this particular program, I have two cells, right? This is the first one. That's the second one. Clicking the run would run all cells. But now when we are in one specific cell, and you notice Spider like the way in which Spider tells you or shows you which cell you are in is by making that cell like a kind of like a transparent whitish kind of background. Okay, so if you want to run one specific cell, you can run it like manually from the top here, the run button and then run cell. And notice control return. That's basically control and enter. It's what we've been pressing all along, and the reason why it's been working for us. So when we started when we start a new Python script, this is literally just one cell. There's been no divisions, internal divisions, logical divisions in the same file. And that's why, see here, there's actually 4 cells. But now when we start our fresh Python script, there's no divisions, and therefore pressing Control Enter would run the entire script. I do hope that makes sense to you. So now we've learned something new in Python in this lecture as well, a kind of like a productivity kind of trick or technique. So it's called cells. Using cells in your Python script really helps you. Okay, so pressing Control Enter will run. See, I've pressed Control Enter in this empty cell and it says nothing to execute. This cell is empty. As opposed to me maybe typing just one line of code and running it. See, it will run. And you'll notice like when you press Control Enter, it says in the prompt run cell 1 and then there's a path. So you see 1, the number first in this parenthesis tuple kind of thing. It's like a function, right? Run cell is a function in Python as well. You can actually type it as a special command. There's it here, run cell, and you see it's a function. It's a built-in Python function, and inside our parenthesis we can pass in whatever we need to. And well, then you'd have to specify file path and stuff. I won't get into all that now. I feel I'm kind of deviating. Anyway, back to what we were doing. Cells are very important. Use them. The way in which you create a cell, hash percentage to run the cell you are in, control and enter. And this is all in Spider IDE. Let's move on. Now it's back to weight is equals to float input. Please enter the weight in. Now we are dealing with kilograms. Okay, excellent. Let's copy and paste that guy. And then we'll do a height. Please enter there should be height in. What are we working with here? I think, okay, meters. That's good. Okay, excellent. Now it's time for the calculation, BMI, and let's copy this now. This is for the second scenario. Exactly the same as before. You can actually copy and paste. I should have done that. Okay, if all is right, we shall run the program. There should be no errors, and we should get a value for our BMI. So let's go ahead and do this. Please enter the weight in kilograms. I want to do a 75 kilogram, and I want to enter a height. Remember, we have the opportunity to create or enter floats because we've specified it there. Okay. 1.6 meters, and it tells me your BMI is 29.30, 29.3. Excellent. We've successfully and we've efficiently catered for two scenarios in order to calculate the BMI of an individual. Okay. I thank you for your time, guys. I will end the video here. This video is actually clocking 19 minutes so far, headed for 20. I actually didn't want to make it that long, but I assume that it was quite interesting. I've also learned a lot from this. One thing I will tell you though is all of the exercises that we have been doing from exercise 1 up to this one, which is 17, they fall under the category of introduction to programming. Okay, so it's, as I've mentioned I think before in a lecture, it's for beginners, people who are new to Python. This is for beginners to get that necessary experience that they require, because I've mentioned before, when I was studying Python in 2020, it was honestly difficult to find resources online. Like, there's a lot of material online that explains the work, but there's no materials online that actually give you the chance to attempt solving a problem first before being given the solution. So that is the aim of this tutorial series. This is introduction to Python, and you'll find that as we move along together, we'll be working with loops and much more interesting stuff. Okay, with that, I thank you for your time, guys. Good luck with your work, and I'll see you in the next YouTube video.